Okay. We're just a couple lines above the middle of the second section on Mem Dalet. The line begins with the word mayain. And we are involved in identifying the principle of creation. That creation is kulam b'chochmah osisa, that there is chochmah and binah, Ayin, which is called father and mother, and this is what brings about the creation. Specifically, it starts from chochmah, the initiator is chochmah, and then is developed in binah. So now we're into the line that begins with the word mayain timotzi. Mayain timotzi is a pasuk that says chochmah mayain timotzi. Chochmah actually represents ayin, but timotzi, it comes into being representing the ayin in a being sense and state. The gam ha-chochmah hi bechinas ayin, which means that even the chochmah also is a bechina of ayin. Even though chochmah, as we said, is an identifiable message, presence, but in essence it is a bechina of ayin. What does that mean? Hine chochmah hi reishis ho ayin ho aliki. Chochmah is the starting point of the Ayin Halaki Hashayach La'Olam. This in an Ayin Halaki we discussed yesterday. Chochmah is the starting moment, the starting point of that in Elokus, which can relate to worlds. Shenasa Mokoi La'Olam, which ultimately becomes the source for Oylamis, for world. To introduce this terminology and the entire discussion that follows, what Chassidus is explaining to us is the world is a godly creation. There is nothing that limits God from creating the world in any which way that He wants. He could have created the world in a manner that has no trace to its source. Made the presence and that's it. But this is not the way God created the world. In fact, God created the world in a manner that there is a continuous connection from the higher to the lower. The lower recognizes that there is a higher source to it. It is not totally detached, an entity that comes from nowhere. Even though it does not understand its creator, but there is a connection. This connection in the initial state is called Ayin. To give us a sense, again, this is going to be discussed, but to give us a sense, what do you mean by Ayin? And what is so significant about Ayin?
That's what he connects to, or that's the connection?
Huh?
That's the connection, or that's what he connects? That's what he connects.
That's what he connects, so that's his source. What is meant by the word Ayin? I would like to demonstrate it from an analogy. We say that a human being does things by design. His seichel analyzes and understands the significance of this action, and it goes ahead and does it. L'habra, an animal, can do the similar action, but we say the animal does it by instinct. What's the difference? Whether you do it by instinct or you do it by the dictate of seichel. When you do it by the dictate of seichel, I'm going to start from that, from the higher level. When you do the dictate of seichel means that every instant that you're doing it, there's a new decision, a new recognition of what you're doing, and a new evaluation. Should I not? Is it valid or is it not valid? And a human being can, in fact, interrupt his activity on the dime and instantaneously. If it's not the right direction, it's not the right direction. What does this tell you? That whatever he had chosen, whatever direction he had chosen to go, whatever activity he has selected to go, this is something which the choice is not something that is pre-existent in him, that is compelling. The choice is Ayin. There is not an entity in him that compels him to do it this way. It is on the basis of seichel that he makes that decision. Right and wrong, good and bad, whatever are the elements that go into that decision. By an animal, it's instinctive. What does that mean? That these elements of doing things in a certain way are inherent in the nature of the animal. There is not a new creation in the activity. Like I illustrate this. We eat a banana by peeling the peel off and holding it on the bottom. The monkey also does the same thing. And I hate to say it, but the idiots say, oh, look at this, we are cousins. They eat the bananas the same way as we do. We picked it up from them, or they picked it up from us. We must understand that these are two entirely distinct, different activities. A human being examines what is the most efficient and cleanest and readily available means of accessing the banana, and he eats it that way. And every time he does it, it's a new decision. There's nothing instinctive in it. The animal, however, the Rebbeinu has implanted in the animal, instincts for its activities. I mean, we can bewonder those instincts. But it is implanted in the animal. This is the animal. This is the definition of this animal. By a person, everything comes from Ayin, which is the Chochmah. This is called Chochmah. This is where is this Ayin come from? So, using the term of Chochmah, we say right and wrong. It's nothing to do with the activities. This is the right way of doing it. This is the wrong way of doing it. Like we always speak in terms of, you eat by sitting down at the table, and you eat with a spoon, and you feed yourself whatever it is, spoon by spoonful. Don't put your face into the plate, and one spoon at a time, and you finish chewing it, and you put another one. What is this? So we have to understand and really focus in and understand. This is a human activity, which means that even though superficially and externally it may be interpreted as convenient, clean, comfortable, really inherent in that is a seichel. This is the right way to eat. And I must point out that our broader seichel, where we begin to understand really right from wrong and good from bad and give us a pattern, begins from these very little things. An infant is shown how to eat. He recognizes, oh, there is a right way to eat and a wrong way to eat. And that begins the process of growth, of the seichel, of the highest level of seichel. Because it's all the same thing. It's not instinctive, it's not comfortable, it's just the reality, the real thing. Those are the pshat. Chochmah is mayain. Right and wrong is a godly concept. There's no instinctive right and wrong in the world. No inherent right and wrong in the world. Like we always say, I just want to conclude this thought so we can. I always say, lo signoiv. In the world, it's recognized only by its consequence. When you did wrong to this person. Or even at a higher level, it's not good for your character to do that. It affects you negatively. The Chochmah speaks of a totally different principle. You're not violating the other person. You're not affecting yourself. You're violating the reality, the godly reality in the world. This is Chochmah. And this is mayain timot. What's meant Ayin? Is God really affected by it? Does it really bother him? God is not affected by anything. But there is a Ayin, there's a truth in it. And that's the offense. This Chochmah, this is the real beginning of the creation. What's the point in this? The point in this is that the creation contains a godly reality. It's not just a poor creation. And look at this creation that is so so unstable and so precarious, there is a godly reality to it. With its precariousness, with its vulnerability, with its shakiness, there's a godly reality. In every aspect in it has a godly message and a godly principle. Das ist mayain thing. Ayin means it's not a worldly thing, it's a godly thing. At every level. This is why the Rambam says that HaChocham, you can identify HaChocham by every activity, in how he walks, how he talks, how he eats, how he sleeps. This is the Ayin Eliki. And this is the Reishis. This is the Reishis Ayin Eliki HaShayach Lo'ilams. V'shenasa Mokor Lo'ilams. And that is what becomes a Mokor for worlds. This principle that becomes a Mokor for worlds, it has to be Chochmah. It cannot be a different action. That aspect that we will discuss a little later. Even though Chochmah itself is actually representative, as we say all the time, of Rotzen and Oineg, but Rotzen and Oineg do not relate to world. It doesn't become a mocker for world. And we will discuss this principle. What's so unique about world that needs Chochmah to be its source? We already learned before. Just Chochmah and so forth.
And when we say that the Ayin is the mocker, the Ayin becomes reflected in the human being basically, but the rest of the world is not really reflective of that Ayin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And whole world.
The whole world is reflective of the Ayin.
Not the whole world. The whole world doesn't recognize it. The only one who recognizes it is a human being, because he has a nefesh that relates to us.
Mm-hmm.
The only one who recognizes it is the human being.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to mention, I'd like to bring this to a clear conclusion. These are all important. I'm sorry, all the deviations, they're all important. We spoke about before that there's a right way to eat. This Indian is recognized by Lahadu the Goy also. They also eat in the right way. What's the difference? The difference, I'll explain what the difference, but before I go to that, I want to make the point. By Yid, whenever we speak about a Yid, he has a godliness in mind and so forth, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is actually up to that level. It means that this is where he should be. This is what he's capable of reaching. This essentially surfaces in a compelling manner in Tshuva, when he went all the way down to a different world, and yet he was able to rise up from that. This koyach, rising up, is not within the human being. He doesn't rise up because he felt it's not respectful to the human being. He rose up because this is not the truth that he perceives. In the world of psychology, if you feel uncomfortable, you feel that you're not really living a respectable life, they tell you, forget about it. Go and enjoy it. That's the way to cure your discomfort. A Yid has a completely different take on that. No, I want to get to that truth. That's what I want to know. I'm not interested in drowning away this conflict. So I said, this is true in the entire world. If we look at the world, the Rebbe says, with open eyes, with Chochmah, with intelligence, we see that the entire world represents a godly reality. Like for instance, we say, Tola Eretz al Blima. What is the earth suspended on? Who cares? I'm living on the earth. I don't care. I don't go that one. And this is where Ayin says, no, I want to know what the earth is suspended on. I want to relate to that thing. And that's a completely different realm. But it exists in the world. But who can identify it? Identified by Odom Arisha. Okay, let's continue inside.
Rabbi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before we learned that the world contains some of God's atzmos, which is why my terminology may be a little bit wrong, but that's why it seems to be an independent entity. It seems to function on its own, just as God functions independently. Now you're saying that now you seem to be saying just the opposite, that the world contains and shows a godly, continuous influence. I'm not sure how to reconcile those things which seem to be contradictory.
Right. That influence, this is what I said before, the difference between the influence of seichel and instinct. The influence of seichel is not an influence, a compelling influence. It's an influence by the recognition on the part of the world, on the part of the person. The godly presence in the world, that's what he recognizes. It's not an influence that he is compelled by the presence. He is compelled by his recognition of it.
So Chochmah cuts through all that.
We said these days, if you see the king, if you're in the presence of the king, you're going to stand up. The king compels you to stand up, or you stand up? You stand up.
Well, it would be because I was taught to stand.
Oh, yes, well, go away with that garbage, okay? You have that insight. Which is garbage of a garbage. Take it and throw it in the garbage. And they pick up garbage today, as a matter of fact, Thursday they pick up the garbage. Let's get back into life.
I don't understand.
You don't understand? I just explained the whole thing. There's an instinct and there is seichel. There's two different worlds. Seichel means I'm taking everything from Ayin. Every time I do it because I decide to do it.
That
Not because I was taught.
That sounds like an instinct. An instinct is that which is not taught.
No, he's thinking, I'm recognizing the truth. I recognize it's right. I know. Were you here this morning?
Yeah.
No, you were preoccupied with your own thinking. You were not listening to what I was saying. Okay, let's continue. Beyond the line that begins with what Hashayach. Hine Yodua, for it is known, these Havos Ho'ilameis, Hu mibchinas ha'ora levad. That the creation of the world is from a bechina, it's called a ha'ora. The principle, the term ha'ora we already discussed. And now we will allude back to that and develop it further. Essentially, ha'ora means the effect of something, not the essential presence of that thing. And we'll explain why the worlds are from ha'ora levad. The atzmus ein soif baruch hu, because the atzmus, the etzem of ein soif, take 2 more minutes. Atzmus ein soif baruch hu, ein noit beyerech hu begeder mokel lo ilam es klal. The etzem of ein soif is not begeder, it's not within that realm. Gather means the fence. It's not within the fence of world, within the definition of world. Klal, at all. There's no relationship, no similarity. The efshir, and therefore it's impossible. Sheyiyeh mizeh his habas ha'olamais. It's impossible that from atzmas should be the creation of world. Kiyim meha'ora levad mayain soif baruch. Only from ha'ora from ein soif can become creation, not from atzmus ein soif. In very brief, just we shouldn't be left hanging. What is the gather of Oylamis? The gather definition of world is. World means multiplicity. For example, our table, I get the word. How does a table stand? The table represents, as we said all the time, a human concept. But it doesn't stand on the concept. In order to be in the world, it has to have legs that are supported by the earth. And in order to create such an entity that is composed of these different parts and ultimately represents a table, it has to come through the process of Chochmah, or ha'ora. It ultimately has the effect of a table, but it doesn't have the essential reality of the table as it is conceived and present in the human spirit. That which is in the reality of the human spirit has nothing to do with world. It's not a composite. We, from our perspective, do not relate to a table that it's a board on legs. It's a table. It's a reality as we conceive it. But that is not world. In order to come into the world, it has to be broken down into components.
And that's a hara, or it's complex?
And that is a ha'ora. That's what a ha'ora means the effect. In other words, actually you don't have a table, but I'm representing it in a certain way. Like I said, the ha'ora light. The light that we have is not a light that eliminates darkness, that illuminates darkness. The darkness remains, but you're able to see. And this is where we're going to interrupt, and you want to make an announcement?
Yep. Tonight we're going to have the Fabringen, Yotes Kislev Fabringen at the Rabbi Paltiel's house. We're going to start at the regular time, 8:30.
Yeah, we'll say, hopefully. I think we should have just a few moments, maybe a half hour of a shir, and then we'll go to...
Okay. So 8:30 tonight. Come. Tell your friends.
Okay.
Mikol